Hey there and welcome to another CyberCom Gaming comparison. On this edition, we're taking another look at two iconic gaming franchises. We're talking about games that many of us grew up with, games that many of us continue to hold dear. So we wanted to take this opportunity to re-record and reproduce this comparison, which was also one of our very first video concepts. We hope you enjoy this one.
We've always been huge fans of both Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon. It was naturally over the moon when both these incredible franchises were getting remakes. And we got to see and play Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time, a long-awaited sequel to the PS1 classic Warped. We hope to get some news on the Spyro sequel real soon.
Now, we've argued and heard people argue countless times over which series is better. Thought about bringing this debate over to you guys, if you haven't already had it with your friends, just to see what some thoughts are.
So this comparison is purely from our perspective, our opinion. The goal for us today is to hopefully help put this debate to rest and crown the overall champion to hit the PlayStation. So kicking off this comparison, we'll be looking at a quick overview of each original series, dive into the gameplay, level design and compare the characters, look at some polls, numbers and reviews, check in with the Gamerjoob crew and what they think, and also look at the legacy each series left to ultimately get us to decide on which series, according to us, is the better franchise. All and much more. This is CyberCom Gaming.
Spyro the Dragon and Crash Bandicoot share a remarkably similar history. They both started as PlayStation exclusives and were pretty much immediate hits with audiences back in the 90s. As time progressed, they both changed developers and went multi-platform. And yes, both did suffer rapid declines in popularity and quality pretty much since the early 2000s. Spyro and Crash were both sold to Activision at the time. Both also lingered on the PS2 with limited success before, funny enough, finding a new home on the Game Boy Advance, a Nintendo console. Both disappeared for many years before the owners at Activision finally listened to fans and delivered remakes, which sparked much needed success in series reprisal for both old and new fans alike. When Spyro Reignited Trilogy and Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy released, it was cool to see the first three games of each series fully remade and redone. The fan response and critical praise was and still is massive, even with Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time, which saw both old and new fans rally behind the beloved orange marsupial. We're also hoping for that Spyro sequel to be announced real soon. Now pushing ahead with this battle, we've got Crash Bandicoot on the one corner, who was originally conceived as Willy the Wombat, where his design was mainly dictated by technological considerations. The Crash Bandicoot franchise takes you on a journey to the Wumpa Islands, more specifically, 3 close-by islands off the coast of the southeast of Australia. The series begins with the creation of Crash with the Evolver Ray, device created by the one and only Dr. New Cortex, the main antagonist for the franchise, together with his friend, the ever-crazy Dr. Nitrous Brew. This device turns animals into beasts with intelligence and varying levels of strengths and abilities. When the duo tries to take control of Crash with the Cortex Vortex and use him as the leader of their army, he manages to escape, jumping out of the window of Cortex's castle, waking up on Insanity Island, which starts the first game. In Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex strikes back. Dr. New Cortex turns to Crash to help him collect 25 slave crystals to supposedly save the world. But actually, he's after the crystals himself. In the third, Uka Uka is unleashed, who together with Dr. Cortex sets out another shot at world domination with the help of their buddy Dr. Entropy, who is the creator of the Time Twister, which would allow them to go back and find the gems and crystals in the original places. But Aka Aka locates and leads the Bandicoots to this machine to provide them with a window to quickly gather the crystals and gems first. From this point, the series went through a number of transitions with different story plots and changes, but the fourth installment, It's About Time, actually remained true to the originals. It takes place directly after the events of the third installment, Warped, where the defeated Cortex, Uka Uka and Entropy escaped from the trans-dimensional prison, and if that wasn't enough, I've also found a way to penetrate time and space to go about another shot at total world domination. Now on the other corner we've got Spyro, was originally named Pete and was colored green during development. The name eventually got dropped and his color was changed to purple to avoid blending in with the grass areas. The story begins in the Artisan's World, which is one of 5 realms within the Dragon Kingdom, with 2 elder dragons being interviewed for a video documentary about the world. The reporter asks if Nasty Nork was banished from the realms a long time ago. They begin to insult Nasty, who was watching the interview on live TV, and so in retaliation uses a magic spell to encase all the dragons in crystals before sending his Nork soldiers to take over. Spyro, the youngest dragon, manages to escape being turned into crystal, and so along with Sparks, he embarks on a quest to rescue and free all the dragons across the Dragon Realms and defeat Nasty Nork once and for all. Spyro 2, Ripto's Rage, picks up a few years after Spyro's defeated Nasty Nork, where both himself and Sparks decide to take a vacation to Dragon Shores. They head through this portal, but instead of taking them to Dragon Shores, they end up in the land of Avalar. This is because the Professor, Elora and Hunter were trying to bring a dragon to Avalar. The story then picks up further from this point, where Ripto destroys the portal Spyro came through, and together with Crash and Gulp, conquers Avalar. Well, only to a point, where they ultimately face off against Spyro. In the 3rd game of the series, Year of the Dragon, is an event which only happens every 12 years, which sees several new dragon eggs being stolen by a white rabbit thief. Spyro sets chase and follows this rabbit into a strange hole and ends up in a place called Forgotten Worlds, where an evil sorceress rules. Spyro starts his 3rd adventure and with the help of his new friends, sets on a quest to recover all the dragon eggs and defeat this evil sorceress. From this point, the Spyro series also had additional titles across multiple platforms, complete reboot, different story plots, and a complete reinvention with Skylanders: Spyro's Adventure. For Spyro, the core gameplay mechanics are consistent across the original series, collecting gems, smashing chests, rescuing friends, and so on, arcing from the era of 3D collectathon platformers led by the likes of Banjo-Kazooie. Spyro can jump, charge, breathe fire, alongside other abilities as the series progresses. The most important is gliding, as this is used in a few platform segments to reach faraway areas. Many levels, also mini sandboxes with multiple routes to explore, meaning you're often left to your own devices regarding how to progress. Moving from a more simplistic approach from the first, the second and third shows more science that Insomniac was attempting to flesh out a fantasy world with extra characters and more diverse locations. At the time of initial release, most enemies in games were designed to perform single functions. However, in Spyro, they were designed to specifically target and taunt the player. We had to applaud that. From freeing crystallized dragons, retrieving stolen treasure, to obtaining talismans and orbs, traveling to different but also interactive worlds. The way forward is nearly always obvious, but exploration is encouraged and actively rewarded, making gameplay feel dynamic and fluid. Crash Bandicoot, on the other hand, had an interesting twist on the platforming genre that remains relatively uncopied to this day, blending elements of both 2D and 3D gaming alongside a shifting perspective to create a unique experience. Crash Bandicoot is a 3D platformer to its core, rather than 2D side-scrolling, for example Sonic, or big open areas like Spyro, where you had Crash where he runs up the screen onto oncoming enemies from a fixed camera perspective. Movement is fully 3D within the areas, but it's confined within the boundaries of the level, providing an interesting take, but most importantly, it works well for the series, giving the game that unique identity. Crash can jump, spin and run fast, which is a bit restrictive, but much like Spyro, his moves becomes more diversified as the series progresses, with a slide, double jump, slam, shooting Wumpa fruits, which are just some of the ways in which you can defeat enemies. From a creative standpoint, this serves the series well, and in terms of gameplay, offers the players with more unique ways to progress and work through the stages. This is further expanded on the 4th installment, which further expands and builds on the gameplay by utilizing the different quantum masks, which allows Crash and Coco to phase through objects, grants them the power of dark matter, by which you can spin aggressively, slow down time, and even flip gravity. The level design in Crash is great and offers a creative and unique experience, but on the flip side, the challenges it brings can be frustrating at times, but we're all for that. For example, Slippery Climb, the infamous High Road, the Lab, and the Cortex Castle level in 4, where you need to constantly juggle between the quantum masks. Much like Spyro, A lot of thought was put into the level design, but difficulty progression, however, was more consistent with Crash. The enemies and boss fights were unique with plenty of personality. Some of the boss fights in Spyro, this hardly caused a sweat. Crash offered a diversified gameplay experience. We'd be running from a boulder, to scouting the ocean floor, riding the waves, floating in space, to racing away on bikes and airplanes. The soundtrack to us was great, with Josh Mansell, which was responsible for the music of the original series. The level design in Spyro offered a unique open-world experience, which was ahead in many aspects, especially during those initial PS1 years. The graphics had a beautiful pastel color design and offered variety in the open, vast environments. In the first game, there wasn't much variety regarding what Spyro could do, which would be the reason superchargers were more prominent. The Spyro series, from our perspective, does a better job with the soundtrack, as Stuart Copeland composed and produced the music, and according to Copeland, each song in the game was written to match a specific level. We felt the move from Insomniac to involve him again with writing the new main theme for the Spyro remake was a brilliant touch, unlike the approach that was taken with the Insane trilogy. Spyro 2 is often referred to as the best in the series, with greater variety in locations and some memorable side quests. The third pretty much builds on this, which can bring a level of repetitiveness and, as some may argue, a feeling of dullness. Both Crash and Spyro boosted the PS1 in terms of offering great 3D platformers, not to mention Bubsy 3D.
Never play Bubsy.
It was clear PlayStation was on a quest trying to replicate Super Mario 64's success. Some may argue that they were successful in this, but many will disagree with this theory. They were and still is iconic, which helped define the 3D platform genre. The nostalgia trigger with both these characters remains fully intact, where you have Crash, the initial silent protagonist, which somehow always prevails over his nemesis Dr. New Cortex, with his cool vibes, funny slapstick death scenes and cool moves, which just made him more likable and funny in a good way. Not the over-the-top as the character's art direction was heading in latter installments, which generally made him less relatable.
The purple thingy.
Spyro as a character is known for being courageous, eager, with a sense of heroism. He has a fiery personality, but does somehow become less cocky and more level-headed in the second and third installment. In the Reignited trilogy, Spyro's overall personality seems to be more mature and friendly compared to that of the original.
Hey, Spyro, press the jump button twice to glide. And don't be afraid.
Afraid? Of what?
Falling from high mountain peaks? Plummeting into prehistoric glaciers?
Oh, that.
Now to look at some polls, numbers, and reviews.
We are looking at a few polls, and the majority of people prefer Spyro over Crash, with a few exceptions. We did find some polls that were showing the opposite effect to try and balance it out, and I must admit, the online presence for Spyro over Crash is quite evident. We'll link the pages on some of these polls. Now, in terms of comparing these two icons, we'll be looking at critical reception in the form of Metacritic and commercial reception in the form of VG Charts sales data. The numbers are as follows. Spyro Reignited Trilogy released on 13 November 2018 and was met with generally favorable reviews, with a Metacritic score on the PS4 sitting on 82 out of 100 and Xbox One sitting at 83 out of 100. The game is consistent in sales and reached number 1 in the UK for sales in the first week. The momentum for the title is still going great. Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy has sold over 10 million units thus far and was originally released on 30 June 2017. The reviews were also generally favorable with a Metacritic score of 80 out of 100 for the PS4 and 79 out of 100 for the Xbox One. The game was dubbed the best-selling game in the week of release and continues with solid, consistent sales. Now let's take a moment to check in with Gamerjoob on which series they prefer and why.
Hi everyone, we are Gamerjoob. This is Jordan.
Hello.
This is Nick.
Hello.
And I'm Jade. And shout out to CyberCom Gaming. Thank you so much for inviting us for this little collab moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so I believe you've asked us our opinion on our preference of what we prefer, whether it be Crash Bandicoot, the franchise, or Spyro, the franchise. So yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, so thank you so much for inviting us. And we chose not to speak about it because we wanted to come in and just argue with each other of which one we prefer. But I think we all kind of, we know where we all stand on the situation. So I guess in 3, 2, 1, we'll just say it at the same time.
Okay.
3, 2, 1,
Spyro.
Spyro.
We all like Spyro a lot more than Crash.
Yeah.
Though Crash is super fun.
Yeah,
Crash is fun.
For me personally, it's not anything like I don't like Crash. When I was at the age when Crash and Spyro were coming out, where I just wasn't good at video games, and Crash was always way too hard for me. So Spyro was more kid-friendly, in my opinion.
It was more forgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was more colourful and I could explore,
Yeah.
whereas Crash was more like a side-scroller or like straightforward.
Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah.
And I just never vibed with it when I was a kid. I wanted to explore the green, grassy areas of Spyro, so I preferred that personally.
Yeah.
Beautiful purple dragon.
Yeah, Spyro's king. I understand
delightful.
Crash is more popular, no doubt. But
Crash is more
Totally,
popular,
totally.
yeah.
And it's funny, I actually grew up with Crash and not with Spyro. I didn't play Spyro until on this channel, actually. But I definitely really have a soft spot for Spyro, and Crash was very hard for me when I was younger, but I do enjoy playing it. We have played a bit on this channel before as well.
yeah, Hog Wild is like the best when you get it. You
Hog
gotta
Wild,
ride that
Hog Wild.
hog, baby.
I'm so bad.
Is that the one
at
with the
it.
bridge?
No, the bridge one is
No.
like an awful mission where it's so hard.
Oh,
no.
I don't even know it's called Hog Wild, but you ride that hog and you gotta ride that
Yeah.
hog.
Yeah, I gotta ride that hard.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Crash, maybe I'm just like completely remembering wrong, but I'm pretty sure he like turns around and he's like,
He like winks it or something. Like,
and he like
yeah.
spanks the
Wacko.
hog.
Yeah, he does.
And that's the thing, and both the games were really humorous as well. I just think as a kid when I was growing up, I liked the humor of Spyro a lot more as well. Like each dragon you unlock or each egg in the third game you get, they just say or do funny things. It was fun. It was I liked it a lot more. Like
Crash
as well.
Warped, me and you liked when we were younger.
We liked Crash Warped.
Crash Warped was,
Yeah.
I think that was where I really clicked with the franchise because it was like it had that more video gamey nature of like being in the sort of world of it,
and it got a bit more forgiving as well.
Is that the one where it has that?
I think so.
I think they all do, don't they?
Crash Warped.
Crash
Yes,
Warped.
yes.
War. Yeah,
That's exactly
War.
it, yeah.
But yeah, I just prefer Spyro. Like now, I don't know. I don't play them as much now. But at the time when I was younger and I played a lot of Crash and Spyro, especially me and you, we used to get together with our families and then just put us in front of a TV and we would always choose Spyro because Crash was so hard. But if we're gonna talk about Croc versus Crash versus Spyro, Croc like rips Spyro's head off.
Oh
Rips
my
it.
God.
Croc, we played Croc so much.
Croc was
Y'all
great.
love
Croc
Croc.
1 and 2 were good. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like I think the gameplay as well in Spyro was great. You know, like we're not comparing to Croc, but like Croc was very like turn left, turn right. It was
Resident Evil 10 control.
it was that D-pad
That's
controls.
iconic.
You know what I mean? Like
But then if you want to get into the real battle and you want to be like, so it's Croc versus Spyro versus Crashes versus Gex. Gex. Tail. He decapitates Croc with his tail.
he does. He
And,
tail whips him.
And he says inappropriate jokes.
Yeah,
and,
he gets nasty.
But we played
yeah.
so much Gex when we were young, and Gex was the king of platformers. And then yeah, like, but it's not a Gex versus Croc versus Crash versus
No, it's
Spyro.
not.
this
But we
whole
can make it. We can make it that.
But if you add Earthworm Jim into that mix, and it's Gex versus Croc versus Crash versus
Earthworm
Spyro
Jim.
versus Earthworm Jim. I never played Earthworm Jim, so I don't know.
Yeah, so he loses.
Exactly.
But yeah, or
all of them.
You could have Bubsy.
Never play Bubsy.
You could have Bubsy.
Whoa, Bubsy.
Bubsy's
No,
bad.
no,
Bad.
that is.
Bubsy's bad.
Bubsy's bad.
Okay,
Bubsy's
okay.
bad.
But yeah. So that over the complicated tier list that we've given it is Spyro is better than Crash for us.
Yeah, so as you
Yes.
can understand, through our Croc, Gex, Spyro, Crash list, Earthworm list,
And Bubsy.
and
Bubsy.
Bubsy, that's
There we
how
go.
we feel.
That's
Yeah,
it.
and Banjo.
And Banjo.
And
Ooh,
Mario.
Banjo's hard. Mario.
No, we can't.
We can't even
Mario
do that.
in
We
there?
Can't even do that.
No, we just want you to know that Gex would decapitate Croc, is what we're saying.
That's it, the important
Yeah, that's what we wanted.
crux.
That's what we wanted you to know.
Yeah.
Alrighty, thank you for having us and for hearing our tier list opinions. Bye guys!
Bye.
Now, in terms of legacy, we think both has made an everlasting impact on the PlayStation and with its fans. Myself included, as I've grown up on both. Crash's 3 initial platformers carried the PlayStation to an early success and won the hearts of many by being charmingly insane in the face of danger. Rocking those pair of jorts. Yep, only Crash can do that. The first 3 titles of Spyro appeared later in the PlayStation's life and carried the PlayStation to a strong close. The witty but determined characters sparked a new era and carried more consistent sell-through, especially if you had to take Skylanders into account as well. The franchise, which arguably inspired Nintendo to release Amiibos, even though Spyro takes a fairly backseat on those games. The rivalry between Crash and Spyro is more of a buddy-buddy rivalry. I mean, after all, they do appear on the same consoles consistently, and it's not as cutthroat as Sonic and Mario. This one is a hard one for me, as both means so much and has played a big role in my childhood. I respect everyone who likes Spyro, and I can relate. You gotta hand it to the humorous and light-hearted orange marsupial. Think of this. When you think of Nintendo, Mario comes to mind. Sega, Sonic jumps up. But when you think of Sony, Naughty Dog, automatically Crash comes up. I personally think Crash is the better series and franchise. It created that sense of magic. The character was almost as big as Mario at some point, even becoming the unofficial mascot of the PlayStation. To us, Spyro was always secondary to Crash. The first 3 games in comparison to Spyro is testament to that. Spyro had little effect on Insomniac's future games and how the games turned out, most of them taking new paths and forgetting about it. To us, Crash offered a lot to the platforming world. Naughty Dog showed no fear in creating something new, linear and original with a wacky set of characters, charm and fun, together with a creative story. Crash, unlike Spyro, had major effect on the titles Naughty Dog developed ahead of time. The jungle, Indiana Jones-like and aesthetic impacted games like Uncharted. Even in Uncharted 4, the game is shown as an honor as they haven't forgotten all the success Crash has given them. I mean, look at Jak and Daxter maintaining that Crash-like style. His release is one of the best things to ever happen to gaming, and especially the platform genre. The gaming world wouldn't be complete without him. We love Spyro, but there can only be one. And in this case, Crash takes the win.
Hey, thank you for watching this CyberCom Gaming comparison. Look, we know both Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon means a lot to a lot of people, us included. We've got massive love for both Crash and Spyro. This was just from our perspective, our opinion. But let us know your thoughts below and what you guys thought of this comparison and on which franchise you guys prefer and why. We also wanted to give a shout out to Gamerjoob for sharing their thoughts. We'll link all the channel details below, so be sure to go and check out their awesome channel. If you did like this video and this type of content, please consider hitting that like button, subscribe as well. Hitting the bell notification would also help with notifying you guys for when we are releasing new videos. Thanks again for all the support, and until next time, see ya.